A mother arrested for allegedly hiring a hitman to kill her ex-husband. A father accused by online communities of killing his son and abusing his daughter. A 14-year-old girl posting a video accusing her own father. So ultimately, who is the victim and who is the perpetrator in the tragic Solomon family case in Tennessee? 3 burial plots purchased in advance, positioned next to the grave of 18-year-old Grant, who had already died. These plots were designated for the mother, the daughter, and the husband himself. The question haunts everyone who learns of this detail. Was this simply advance planning, or was it a death blueprint prepared ahead of time? The Solomon family consisted of Mother Angie, Father Aaron's son Grant, who died in 2020, and daughter Gracie. The central tragedy involves Grant's mysterious death, a battle of accusations involving abuse and murder, and ultimately Angie's arrest for allegedly attempting to hire a hitman to kill Aaron. The divorce proceedings began in 2013. Grant died in 2020, Gracie's accusatory video surfaced in 2021, and Angie's arrest for the alleged murder-for-hire plot occurred in 2025. The events unfolded in Tennessee, specifically around the Franklin area, involving the Grace Chapel Church community and Grace Christian Academy, a private religious school. Both sides have accused each other of domestic violence abuse and participation in what has been called a good old boys club that allegedly protects powerful men, making the case increasingly complex and contentious. This case contains allegations of domestic violence, sexual abuse, and unexplained death. Many details represent accusations from one party that have not been conclusively determined by the courts. The information presented here is compiled from publicly available sources and does not represent a final legal judgment. From the outside, the Solomon family appeared to embody success and stability. Aaron worked as a sports anchor for local television. The family was actively involved in their church, and their children attended a Christian school. By all external measures, they seemed to represent the ideal American family. However, following their divorce, this picture-perfect facade shattered completely. What followed was a descent into litigation, accusations, protective orders, allegations of abuse, and ultimately the death of their son, Grant. The dissolution of the Solomon marriage began in 2013. Angie alleged that Aaron was violent and controlling, claiming he had even attempted to kill her. She also accused him of abusing their daughter Gracie from a young age, particularly during bath time. Aaron countered these allegations by characterizing Angie as a pathological liar who fabricated stories and was mentally unstable. He claimed she had attempted suicide and then blamed him, and that she was systematically manipulating their children to turn them against their father. The divorce proceedings revealed deep divisions even within Angie's own family. Her own father testified in court supporting Aaron, describing his daughter as someone who consistently lied and stating that he would not feel safe sleeping in a house where she was present. A former close friend of Angie's submitted a statement to the court, describing how Angie believed that country music star Tim McGraw was in love with her and would leave his wife to be with her. This account was used by the court as an example of what they considered Angie's detachment from reality. The court's initial custody decisions favored Aaron, significantly granting him approximately 70 to 80% custody, while Angie received conditional visitation rights. Multiple investigations by Child Protective Services were opened and subsequently closed with findings of insufficient evidence. It is important to note that insufficient evidence does not prove that abuse did not occur. It simply highlights the legal gray area and the difficulty of proving such allegations in court. During the years from 20 to 2020, the custody battle continued relentlessly. Child Protective Services investigated multiple times, but repeatedly closed cases citing lack of conclusive evidence. The children remained caught in the crossfire of their parents' warfare. In 2020, tragedy struck when Grant Solomon, then 18 years old, died in what was officially classified as an accident involving a pickup truck. According to the official account, the vehicle rolled over him and went into a ditch. Local law enforcement recorded the incident as an accident with no immediate criminal charges filed. However, both Angie and Gracie have consistently maintained that Grant's death was not accidental. They believe that Grant had discovered the truth about his father and was planning to come forward to protect his younger sister. They contend that his death was the result of a planned act rather than a tragic accident. Several details about the circumstances of Grant's death have raised questions among those who have examined the case. The manner in which the vehicle allegedly rolled the position of the body and various witness statements have led many in the online community to believe that something about the official narrative does not add up. When the story resurfaced in subsequent years, international social media users expressed widespread skepticism, with many believing this was a poorly concealed cover-up and that Grant was murdered. However, it must be emphasized that local law enforcement has not filed homicide charges, and the death remains officially classified as an accident. All suspicions remain in the realm of public speculation rather than legal fact. In 2021, Gracie Solomon, then 14 years old, released a video statement that would dramatically escalate the public dimension of the family's conflict. In the video, Gracie directly accused her father of abuse and of killing her older brother. She emphasized that these were her own words and that no one had forced her to make the statement. Following the video's release, the Department of Children's Services intervened and temporarily removed Gracie from Angie's care, citing concerns about psychological harm to the child. This intervention itself became a point of fierce controversy. Supporters of Gracie and Angie argued that Angie had exhausted every legal avenue available to her, but had been consistently silenced by the system. They viewed the decision to take the case public as an act of desperation by a mother who believed that traditional legal channels would never protect her daughter. In their view, Gracie was a genuine victim who had been abandoned by both the institutional system and her church community. However, Aaron and his supporters presented a starkly different interpretation. Aaron maintained that Gracie had been systematically brainwashed by her mother through a process known as parental alienation. He characterized the video as the product of manipulation rather than genuine testimony. This position gained some support when it was revealed that Angie herself had made statements suggesting that the video was not entirely Gracie's voluntary creation. Some of Angie's former acquaintances submitted statements to the court describing her as highly persuasive, with adults suggesting that manipulating a child would be even easier for her. The case became inextricably linked with two major institutions in the Franklin, Tennessee area, Grace Chapel and Grace Christian Academy. Grace Chapel is a megachurch with thousands of attendees and has historically attracted politicians and other powerful community figures. Grace Christian Academy, where Grant and Gracie attended school, maintained close community ties with the church. Angie has made serious allegations about what she characterizes as a good old boys club, consisting of politicians, judges, and pastors who allegedly protect one another. She has made particularly grave accusations suggesting the existence of an abuse or trafficking network and claiming that Gracie was exposed to this network. It must be stressed that these allegations have not been proven in court. Angie believes that the consistent judicial favoritism toward Aaron stems from his connections, financial resources, and church affiliations. Grace Chapel released an official statement strongly denying these allegations. The church emphasized that no reports of abuse within church premises had ever been brought to pastoral leadership, and that no pastor had ever failed to report such allegations to authorities as required by law. Grace Christian Academy also became involved in the controversy when a recorded conversation surfaced in which school personnel discussed how Gracie's abuse allegations were causing confusion among parents and distress among students. In the recording, school staff expressed hope that the matter would not spread throughout the school community. This situation can be viewed from multiple perspectives. From one angle, the institutions were protecting their reputations and maintaining order within their communities. From another perspective, the response appeared cold and prioritized institutional image over child safety. The truth likely lies somewhere in the complex middle ground. One of the most unsettling details in the entire saga involves the burial plots purchased by Aaron. He acquired 3 plots adjacent to Grant's grave, designated for himself, for Angie, and for Gracie. According to Angie, discovering that her name and her then 13-year-old daughter's name were inscribed on burial markers gave her chills and immediately suggested to her a murder-suicide plan. However, the director of the cemetery provided a contrasting account, stating that Angie was present when the plots were purchased, was aware of the arrangement, and had even wanted Aaron to pay for them. The director's account suggests that Angie later portrayed the discovery as a shocking surprise on social media, contradicting her actual involvement at the time. Additional conflicts arose regarding items placed on Grant's grave. Angie accused the funeral home of breaking Grant's ankle to force his body to fit into the casket. The regulatory body overseeing funeral homes investigated this claim and concluded that there was no evidence beyond the mother's statement. The funeral home characterized the accusation as defamatory. Separately, the cemetery enforced its regulations by removing baseball-related memorial items, including caps, bats, and other mementos from Grant's grave. While this was standard cemetery policy, Angie interpreted it as Aaron deliberately removing her son's memories. These incidents illustrate how the same events can generate completely opposite narratives depending on whose perspective is telling the story. The conflicts also demonstrate the complete breakdown of trust, not only between the two parents, but between Angie and virtually every system and institution surrounding her family. Aaron filed a defamation lawsuit against Angie and her supporters involved in the Freedom for Gracie movement. The lawsuit alleged that the campaign was designed to destroy his reputation, raise money, sell merchandise, and generate drama rather than to genuinely seek justice. Aaron's legal filing included supporting statements from the cemetery director, former acquaintances of Angie, and even some of her family members. The defamation lawsuit was eventually withdrawn before reaching a conclusion. This withdrawal can be explained by the difficulty of proving specific financial damages resulting from defamation, combined with the substantial costs of pursuing such litigation and Angie's limited financial assets available for potential damages. Two interpretations emerged regarding the withdrawal. Supporters of Aaron suggested he withdrew because the lawsuit was not cost-effective, given the limited potential recovery. Opponents of Aaron argued that he withdrew because continuing would have required providing additional documentation and facing public cross-examination in court. The public response to the Solomon case has divided into roughly 3 camps. The first group believes that Aaron is an abuser and possibly a murderer who has been protected by a corrupt system. The second group believes that Angie is mentally unstable, fabricates accusations, and has dragged her children into an endless war of her own creation. The third group believes that both parents have engaged in toxic behavior and that the true victims are Grant, who is dead, and Gracie, who has been traumatized by the conflict. The case reached a dramatic climax in 2025 when Tennessee law enforcement contacted Aaron with shocking news. Investigators informed him that someone had attempted to hire a hitman to kill him, and that the person who allegedly made this arrangement was Angie. The supposed hitman was actually an undercover agent. Aaron later described his reaction as disbelief and shock, as though the situation could not possibly be real. According to information released by investigators, one alleged motive involves a trust fund. If Aaron were to die, Gracie would become the primary beneficiary of a trust estimated at over $1 million, though the exact amount remains disputed. Those who oppose Angie view this as evidence that she sought both revenge and financial gain for her daughter. However, Angie's supporters frame the alleged murder-for-hire plot differently, seeing it as the desperate act of a mother who believed that the system would never protect her child from a powerful man and who felt she had exhausted all other options. It is crucial to emphasize that Angie faces charges of conspiracy to commit murder. These are allegations that have not yet been adjudicated. The legal proceedings remain ongoing, and the language used must reflect that this represents an accusation rather than a proven conviction. All individuals are presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. When examining this case, 3 primary theories emerge regarding what actually happened within the Solomon family. The first theory holds that Aaron is a dangerous individual who has been protected by a network of powerful allies. This interpretation points to the multiple allegations from Gracie. Her video testimony, Grant's suspicious death, and the pattern of investigations that closed without conclusive findings. Supporters of this theory note the involvement of church leadership, school administrators, and local officials who all appear in the narrative, suggesting a coordinated effort to shield Aaron from accountability. The second theory suggests that Angie suffers from mental health issues and has constructed an elaborate false narrative. This interpretation relies on testimony from her own father and former friends. The documented incidents, such as her alleged delusion about Tim McGraw and contradictions within her own statements, including her conflicting accounts about whether Gracie's video was truly voluntary. This theory also points to her use of social media to generate pressure and raise funds as evidence of manipulation rather than genuine advocacy. The third theory proposes that both parents have engaged in toxic and harmful behavior, though perhaps in different ways. Under this interpretation, both Aaron and Angie have engaged in controlling, manipulative conduct, and the children have been trapped between them. Grant died under circumstances that remain unclear, and Gracie has grown up in a battlefield of litigation, accusations, and social media warfare. This theory suggests that both parents bear responsibility for the destruction of their children's well-being, regardless of which specific factual allegations are true. This presentation of the Solomon case does not possess the legal tools or original evidence necessary to determine who is telling the truth. The purpose of examining this case in detail is to present the multiple streams of information so that readers can form their own assessments based on the available facts, regardless of which parent is ultimately found to be more truthful. One fact remains undeniable: the family system and the legal system failed to adequately protect Grant and Gracie Solomon. Whether through gaps in child protection protocols, insufficient resources for thorough investigation, or systemic bias, these children did not receive the protection they deserved. Grant is dead, and Gracie has spent her formative years caught in a nightmare of conflicting accusations and public scrutiny. The image of those 3 burial plots positioned next to Grant's grave remains a haunting symbol of how a family can be torn apart, leaving questions that may never be fully answered. The Solomon case reminds us that truth in family law matters is often extraordinarily difficult to establish, particularly when allegations involve abuse that occurs behind closed doors. It highlights the limitations of legal systems that require concrete evidence, while dealing with crimes that by their nature often leave little physical proof. It demonstrates how deeply religious communities can become entangled in protecting their own reputations rather than pursuing justice. Most fundamentally, it shows how children can become casualties when adult conflicts spiral beyond control. This case also raises important questions about the role of social media in seeking justice when traditional legal channels appear blocked. While taking accusations public can generate pressure and awareness, it can also create a trial by public opinion that may or may not align with factual truth. The Freedom for Gracie movement demonstrates both the power and the perils of this approach. Whatever verdict eventually emerges from the criminal proceedings against Angie, and whatever conclusions people draw about Aaron's conduct, the damage to this family cannot be undone. Grant cannot be brought back to life. Gracie's childhood cannot be restored. The Solomon case stands as a sobering reminder that when families disintegrate into warfare, it is almost always the most vulnerable who pay the highest price. The lesson here extends beyond this single family. It speaks to the need for better funded and better trained child protective services, for legal systems that can navigate the gray areas of abuse allegations more effectively, and for communities, including religious communities, to prioritize child safety above institutional reputation. It reminds us that the presumption of innocence, while a cornerstone of justice, must be balanced against the urgent need to protect children who may be in danger. As this case continues to unfold through the legal system, it remains a powerful example of how complex the truth can be, how inadequate our systems sometimes are in finding it, and how devastating the consequences can be when families, institutions, and legal structures all fail simultaneously. What do you think is the most plausible explanation for what happened in the Solomon family? Based on the facts presented, which elements seem most credible to you, and what questions remain unanswered? To follow more complex and mysterious cases like this one, please subscribe to the channel, like this video, and leave your thoughts in the comments below.